June 20th, 2014. Guys, this is an important video. This book was discovered by accident, and it was published at first in 1882 in San Francisco. After it had been found, it had been secretly translated and replaced in its position. It was originally circulated in a manuscript until 1612 when it was published in Krakow, Poland. Then again, taken from the edition published in 1882 in San Francisco, California. Guys, the new Pope is the first Jesuit priest in the Vatican. In these end times, it's especially important because this gives you the chilling details of this new world takeover. It goes into depth how they have and are infiltrating every form of society, from the basic household up to the presidents and the great churches from around the world. It has so many sections that will blow your mind on how evil they are that you just need to read a thing for yourself. But I'm going to go to one in particular because when you get the ladies upset, you got problems. Now, before I go there, let's pause just at the title of Chapter 2 to give you an idea of what we're dealing with. It's titled, The Manner in Which the Fathers of the Order, it's a Jesuit priesthood, must conduct themselves to acquire and preserve the familiarity of princes, magnates, and powerful and rich persons. They have a plan to take over the entire world. They start with just the common household. Now, this is Chapter 6. It's of the mode of attracting rich widows. Can you believe that, guys? Any of you women out there that still participate in this church, you know the Bible says he will be a despiser of women. Use them, abuse them. Listen to this. We must elect effective fathers already advanced in years, of lively complexion and conversation. They must look good, be lively, agreeable to visit these ladies, and whence they can properly note in them appreciation or affection for our society, making offerings of good works and the merits of the same, that if they accept them and succeed in having them frequent our temples, we must assign them a confessor who will be able of guiding them in the ways that are proper, in the state of widowhood, making the enumeration and praises of satisfaction that should accompany such a state. It's going to be fine. Stay a widow. If you remarry, we can't get your money. Making them believe, and yet with certainty, that those who serve as such is a merit for eternal life. Can you believe that? Being efficacious to relieve them from the pains of purgatory. In other words, don't remarry. Someone else will get that money. We need it, or you're going to hell. The same confessor will propose to them to make and adorn a little chapel or oratory in their own house, to confirm their religious exercises, because by this method we can shorten the communication. In other words, they don't need other churches. They got us inside their home, more easily hindering those who visit others. Although if they have a particular chaplain and will content to go to him to celebrate the Mass, making opportune advertencies to her who confess, to the effect, now listen, and treating her as being left to be overpowered by said chaplain. In other words, go with her if you have to, but make sure she realizes that she could be overpowered by his lies. We must endeavor skillfully but gently to cause them to change respectively to the order and to the method of the house, and to conform as the circumstances of the person will permit, to whom they are directed, their propensities, their piety, and yet to the place and situation of the edifice. We must not omit to have removed, little by little, pay attention to this evil, the servants of the house that are not of the same mind with ourselves, proposing that they be replaced by those persons who are dependent on us and who desire to be of the society. Listen, for by this method we can be placed in the channel of communication of whatever passes in that family. The constant watch of the confessor will have to be that the widow shall be disposed to depend on him totally, representing that her advances in grace are necessarily bound to this submission. Man, we are to induce her to the frequency of the sacraments. There's nothing sacred about anything that church does, and especially that of penitence, making her to give account of her deeper thoughts and intentions, inviting her to listen to her confessor, who is to preach particular promising orations, recommending equally the recitation each day of the litanies and the examination of conscience. What do they want you to examine? Have you given enough to the church, to their evil doctrines? It will be very necessary in the case of a general confession to enter extensively into all her inclinations, for that it will be to determine her, although she may be found in the hands of others. Listen, insist upon the advantage of widowhood and the inconvenience of marriage, in particular that of a repeated one. If you get married again, the husband that we probably just killed so we could come in here and do this to you and get your money may talk you out of it, and the dangers to which she will be exposed by this other marriage relatively to her particular businesses into which we are desirous of penetrating. We must cause her to talk of men whom she dislikes, and to see if she takes notice of anyone who is agreeable. Ladies, have you seen this in your life, in this church, and in some of these so-called pastors now that are supposedly teaching Christianity, but teach you to run and hide? Let's back this up. We must cause her to talk of men whom she dislikes, and to see if she takes notice of anyone who is agreeable, and represent to her that he is a man of bad life. Even if she finds someone that she likes, represent to her that he is a man of bad life, procuring by these means disgust of one and another, and repugnant to unite with anyone. Just make her miserable, make her life empty, and get her money. When the confessor has become convinced that she has decided to follow the life of widowhood, he must then proceed to counsel her to dedicate herself to a spiritual life. You don't need any of these riches. Give them away to the church, but not to a monastic one whose lack of accommodations will show how they live. In a word, we must proceed to speak of the spiritual life of Pauline and Eutychus. The confessor will conduct her at last, that having devoted the widow to chastity, to not less than 2 or 3 years, she will then be made to renounce a second nuptial forever. In this case, she will be found to have discarded all sorts of relations with men, and even the diversions between her relatives and acquaintances. They're going to separate you from everything. We must protect that she must unite more closely to God. With regard to the ecclesiastics who visit her, listen, or to whom she goes out to visit when we cannot keep her separate, and apart from all others, we must labor that those with whom she treats shall be recommended by ourselves or by those who are devoted to us. Don't let her see anybody unless they're in on this. In this state, we must inspire to give alms, her to give alms, under the direction, as she will suppose, or her spiritual father. Then it is of great importance that they shall be employed with utility, more being careful that they shall be discretion and counsel, causing her to see that inconsiderate alms are the frequent causes of many sins, or serve to torment at last, but they are not the fruit nor the merit which produce them. Don't give to anybody else but us. Chapter 7 is beautiful, guys. Listen to this. Listen to the title. Now, remember, it was in Latin. This is a system which must be employed with widows and methods of disposing of their property. Ooh, how nice. It will be necessary to inspire her to continue to persevere in her devotion and the exercise of good works and of disposition, and not permitting a week to pass to give away some part of her overplus in honor of Jesus Christ, of the Holy Virgin, and of the saint she has chosen for her patron. Do not choose a saint for your patron anyway. Christ is the only standard we need. Giving this to the poor of the society, or for the ornamenting of its churches, until she has absolutely disposed of the first fruits of her property, as in other times did the Egyptians. When the the more generally to practice their alms, must be given to know with perseverance their liberality in favor of the society, and they are to be assured that they are participants in all the merits of the same, and of the particular indulgence of the provincial God, and they are persons of much and if they are persons of much consideration of the general of the order, called the Black Pope. Let's read that again. Their liberality in favor of the society. Don't give to just anybody, but and be very careful if you do, but be very liberal in your giving to us. Listen, it gets more evil. The widows who have made vows of chastity, it will be necessary for them to renew them twice per year, conforming to the custom that we have established, but permitting them notwithstanding that day some honest freedom from restraints by our fathers. They must be frequently visited, treating them agreeably, referring to them spirited and diverting history. Listen to that. Conformable to the character and inclination of each one, but that they may not abate, we must not use too much rigor with them in the confessional. Be sly and slick, that it may not be that they by having empowered others over their benevolence, that we do not lose confidence of recovering their adhesion. Man, having to proceed in all cases with great skill and caution, being aware of the inconsistency that's natural to women. Again, let me remind you, he will have no respect for the women. The Antichrist, the beast system, it will have none. It never has. How long has this been going on, guys? Since the 1600s? How many homes have you seen this happen to? They want to run everything, guys. That's what the deal is. But let's just look at this. It says, we must manage that in the houses of the widows there shall be honorable young ladies of rich and noble families, that little by little they become accustomed to our direction and mode of life, and they are given a director, elected and established by the confessor of the family, to be permanently and always subject to all the reprehensions and habits of the society. And if any do not wish to submit to all, they must be sent to the houses of their fathers or to those from which they were brought, accusing them directly of extravagance and of glaring and stained character. Guys, I want to pause just a moment to say something. Now, the Jesuit priesthood and the Pope and the Roman Catholics at one time were at war. But in these plans, the Jesuit priesthood has even taken over the evil Vatican. That's how bad this has gotten. And you'll notice that because the Jesuits really hate the Catholics, that if the current Jesuit Pope sees one of the priests that are not Jesuits spending money, living lavishly, they call them out. They destroy them because they're not Jesuit. Let's go on with this. It says, the care of the health of the widows, and to proportion some amusement, it is not the least important that we should care for their salvation. Listen, and so if they complain of some indisposition, we must prohibit the fast, the haircloth girdle, and the discipline, without permitting them to go to church. Further continue the direction cautiously and secretly with such that they may be examined in their houses. If they don't even go to the doctor, if they are given admission into the garden and edifice of the college with secrecy, and if they consent to converse and secretly entertain with those that they prefer. Now, to this end, that we may obtain that the widows employ their utmost obedience to the society, it is the duty to represent to them the protection of the life of the holy, perfection of the life of the holy, who have renounced the world, estranged themselves from their relations, and can I put in here, and give us all their money, and despising their fortunes. Oh, despise them, hate them. We can handle it. We don't despise them. Consecrating themselves to the service of the Supreme Being. In their case, it's not God, it's Satan. With entire resignation and content, it will be necessary to produce the same effect that those who turn away to the constitutions of the society and their relative examination to the abandonment of all things. Give us everything you got. We must cite examples of the widows who have reached holiness in a very short time, giving them hopes of their being canonized. Ladies, is that really what you want? If their perseverance does not decay, and promising for their cases our influence with the Holy Father. Ooh, we got good judges there. We must impress in their souls the persuasion that if they desire to enjoy complete tranquility of conscience, it will be necessary for them to follow without repugnance, without murmuring, nor tiring. Don't complain, shut up, sheeple. The direction of the confessor, so in the spiritual as in the eternal, that she may be found destined to the same God. By their guidance, she will be found destined to their God, Satan. We must direct with opportunity that the Lord does not desire that they should give alms, nor yet to fathers of exemplary life, known and approved, without consulting beforehand with their confessor and regulating the dictations of the same. The confessors must take the greatest care that the widows and their daughters of the confessional do not go to see other fathers, for example, non-Jesuit priest, under any pretext, nor with them. For this we must praise our society as the order most illustrious of them all, of greater utility in the church, and of greater authority with the Pope and with the princes. Perfection in itself, listen to this, then dismiss the dream of them and menace them, that we can, and that we are no correspondence to them. We can say that we do not consent to froth and do as among other monks who count in their convents many ignorant, stupid loungers who are indolent in regard to other life and intriguers in that to disorder. The confessor must propose and persuade the widows to assign ordinary pensions and other annual quotas to the colleges and houses of profession of their subsistence, with especially to the professed house at Rome, and not forgetting to remind them of the restoration of the ornaments of the temples, replenishing of the wax, the wine, and the other necessities for the celebration of their unholy mass. Verse 15, if they do not make relinquishment of their property to the society, it will be made manifest to them on apparent occasion, and in particular when they are found to be sick or in danger of death. When they're weak or in danger of death, guys, or being threatened with death from the outside, unknown source, that there are many colleges to be founded, and that they may be excited with sweetness, to make some disbursements as merit for God, and that they can be found in his eternal glory. Guys, it just doesn't get any better. I'm going to link this up. Again, just look at the title of the next chapter. Methods by which the children of rich widows may be caused to embrace the religious state are of devotion. Guys, this is a heads up on the evil, and this is the one world movement. This society is very powerful. From the Vatican telescopes in Arizona, throughout every political office, every church, every college, and now in every household. This is the one world movement, the one world religion, and it started a long time ago, and they almost have it completed. The foundations are set. Come out of confusion. Heads up, be safe.